Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to our initial review of Secret Invasion. Oh, so excited. Man, I've been waiting for the show so much, and now it's here, and I got such a great person to talk with this about. I'm so excited. Of course, you know him from Smirking Reviews. It's Rob Stone!
Hey, yes, so great to be here. And also, if anybody's interested in a mattress, I'll let you have it for 40 bucks. Um, yes, we super excited to be back finally talking again about stuff on Disney Plus and Marvel and Star Wars and all the things that we do here. And yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Going to be an interesting one. I said this when I posted it on the Discord. I don't think this is going to be like everybody else's discussion. Think we're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to focus a little bit more on tone, on background, on character interaction, much more than just doing a scene by scene little note.
Yeah.
But of course, there's going to be a few things on that we will touch on. Before we get started, I want to do a nice shout out to Doc Moore, one of our long-standing fans, big-time viewer. We messaged a couple of times through this break and so on, and he had just sent such a really nice Doc, such a beautiful little message on just how much he missed our discussions and was really looking forward for us being back. So I wanted to kick this one off for Doc Moore up in New Brunswick, Canada. Also, check out his Instagram account. The guy does beautiful shots on the coast of New Brunswick. Just awesome stuff. So big shout out to you, Doc.
Yeah, definitely. All you guys out there that still love hearing us talk about these shows. It's you guys are one of the main reasons we do it. So
Yeah. And I've been trying to find out some stuff to do in between to kind of fill in the little gap stuff. Still working at it. You know how life goes. You have plans, and then it all goes nuts. Speaking of, before we jump into the general discussion, I did want to kind of touch on one note to put this out. You know how much big fans we are of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was initially going to kick this off. I know we're a small but passionate fan base. I did initially wanted to kick this off with the message of, look, as much of a fan I am, as much as all the dreamy stuff of what could happen with this episode, look, we're not going to see anybody from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's not going to happen. Quake's not showing up. This is a very focused story between Fury and Talos and those relationships. And I'm fine with that. A little disappointed, but fine with it. Now, that's how I was going to kick this off until the day before this premieres, and Marvel puts out this big list of things to watch before Secret Invasion. Catch up on Nick Fury's adventures. And in the midst of that, amongst all of the MCU films, was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, Fury did show up a couple of times in season one. Maria also a couple of times through the seasons showing up in some great cameos. But they specifically mention the finale of season one, mostly about Fury helping stop former protege Garrett and assisting Phil Coulson. I love it when Phil's name's brought up. And yes, that is what happened in the finale. But also in the finale is when Fury made Coulson director. And if we have noticed throughout this whole season, this episode, first one, it's Agent Fury. It's Agent Hill. It's not director or anything like that. So now, yes, in the MCU, S.H.I.E.L.D. has fallen, so that kind of makes sense. So at this point, I can't say that there's not an unreasonableness because there is a perfect point where you could transition from TV over to the MCU proper. And that's at the end of season 4 when they go and get Pi. And it's Enoch, we find out at the beginning of season 5, who freezes them and takes them. We don't see that at the end of season 4. We just see him getting frozen and mysterious people taking it. Now, if that wasn't Enoch and that was the Skrulls, and they were, I don't know, put in some sort of framework machine, which, I don't know, looks an awful like where the humans are being stored in that Moscow or that Russian tank thing. Take a look at the two pictures. They look very good. we could say that 5, 6, and 7, which also never referenced the blip or Endgame, so in some ways I've already steered off. I'm just saying you could make an argument that that would be the perfect place where if he does find Coulson and he wakes up and says, we were getting pie or something like that. So all I'm saying basically is I've gone from look, it's not going to happen to, I will acknowledge there's an infinitesimally small chance that it's going to happen, but I'm still not going to expect it. But that's the headcanon that I'm going to live with.
Man.
No, I haven't put any thought into
no,
that.
like, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna like I said, like we've been saying forever, right? We are small, mighty, and are relentless in our pursuit of making sure that our Agents of Shield at least get mentioned at some point, and keep pointing out this huge crack and flaw in the great Feige, and his master plan and things. And I think that the television division is a big, before Disney put and even some of it. I'd say that the television division of Disney, run by if he's still running everything, not been as good.
Mm-hmm.
And the Agents of Shield. I watched this 4 times. Okay, twice yesterday, twice today.
Yeah.
And today, all I kept thinking of was, man, this is like one of the best Agents of Shield series, like season finale episodes of all time for a show that's not Agents of Shield.
A lot of similarities, yeah.
But it is only a so-so episode of what's supposed to be a big event.
Yeah.
Like if this was if Agents of Shield was still on and somehow they were just like, look, Sam's gonna be on the show now. You know what I mean? Like if this was like multiverse, like this is a multiverse Shield, right? Where it's like Shield is Maria Hill and Agent Fury and Talos and the Skrulls are his like spies and crap, and this was just this multiverse's version of Agents of Shield. I'd be like, this is great, because a lot of the dialogue and situations and stunts, and it really felt episodic.
Mm-hmm.
But it also felt like this is where all the money went in a season finale. And that, looking at it from that aspect, I was like, man, they are really missing out on just not having this be a way to bring Shield back. And if this was Shield, this would have been something that would have been a season of Shield, is Secret Invasion. And it feels like so natural to while I'm watching this, have been like, this is where the arc would start doing this, and this, and it'd be great, to have even if it was only let's call it a whole season, 20 episodes or something. Fantastic. But
this does work nicely as one of those pods, beginning little adventures that all get connected over a couple of seasons.
Yeah, but this version of Secret Invasion, which look, if we want to get off, certain things off our chest right now, the big trade-off has always been when your IP gets purchased by a big company and they just get to do whatever they want with it, then you lose that thing that you had, when you're a kid and you're sitting there going, I can't wait for these movies to come out. I can't wait for somebody to make these into movies. And then inevitably, a lot of times they come out and we curse everybody involved, and almost stop becoming fans. And thankfully, most of the MCU has been, mostly well received by the majority of people. Here or there, whatever. And as the longer it goes on, blah, blah, blah. But And I'm losing the plot right here, but it's just that, yeah, we should expect them to not be telling the stories the way that we envision in our minds.
Yeah.
But then there's ways that they do things now, and I just think that I don't want to throw in like with everybody else who just goes, "This should have been a whole phase." It should have, but realistically, like they still are a very directionless uh, brand right now. Still feels very directionless.
Sure.
And with the writer's strike, another like if COVID didn't slow things down enough, now we have the writer's strike that's going to slow things down again. And they've already been rushing too fast to catch up,
stuff,
jamming stories together, pushing things onto this, that, and the other. And now it's just, this is where they should just stop making big proclamations about what they're doing, and just anything that's not already in production, pump the brakes, because shows like this could have been whole phases, but,
right.
But they're just not gonna be that way. Now, is what they gave us better, or at least is it good enough to accept if you're not going to get that? I think for a lot of like younger audiences that haven't seen these kind of things as much as we have,
Mm-hmm.
I think that this show could be considered really, really, really good. But for my money, having seen a lot of these things already and comparing it to a TV show that doesn't even exist anymore, and despite it having Kyle Bradstreet from Mr. Robot, and a director who has done things that deal with racism and government and suspicion and paranoia before, not a lot, but enough. I just don't think so far in this first episode they really delivered something that really felt satisfying to me.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of different ways that we can talk about this, and we will. And I'm sorry for rambling this long, because this basically just went stream of consciousness for a while, and I apologize.
That's right. You were patient with my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like connection there, so that's all good. But that's an actually great transition point, because I did want to kind of get into this, because I mean, I will say, however else this discussion goes, whichever directions that we go in, I really enjoyed this episode. Overall, I had a blast. The chemistry between Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel Jackson is awesome. I love seeing them in screen. I love the emotional back and forth. I just think Ben Mendelsohn's a freaking treasure. I loved every little bit in him. I thought the production value was gorgeous. The Cold War kind of feel of it, even back in Russia and so on, very emblematic of old spy films. And as a child of the Cold War, it felt a little comforting, as terrifying as that period of our history was. I like the interplay. I like kind of where it went, how it ended up for an episode one. Overall, I was very excited by it. I do have, of course, a few small quibbles, which we will get into. And I think one of those is very evident in our real first scene, where we get the whole Agent Ross learning of the conspiracy, and then discovery that Ross is a Skrull, and the chase and all of those types of things. One, I really appreciate the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia similarity there. The guy looking at the world, it's Skrulls. Look at that, just all the things. That was funny, but I have to say, I was a little disappointed, really only in the sense of being thrown into, oh, there's a Skrull resurrection and they're replacing people and going in, that's like the first scene right off. They just spell out what the story is, and we don't get a discovery of that. I mean, I guess in some ways the discovery is when we see Ross, oh my God, not Bilbo, was was kind of a bit of a shock, but it's also a way to include an actor and then remove him and not have him either again, or you find his body and you wake him up and you, oh, what happened? Which may be the case. But that's the only thing where I was like, again, in referencing our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, is I think AOS would have played that out a little bit more. And everybody seems to know, even when we had the discussion with Sonia Farber, Falsworth, I want to be sure to get her name with, who's apparently the MI6 bureau chief in Moscow there. She's like, oh, we're here for the Skrull invasion. Oh, everybody knows there's a Skrull invasion. Skrull invasion happening. They're replacing people. Just that's kind of thrown out. I really wish that we as the audience would have gotten to discover that along with people, as opposed to having it, kind of thrust upon us. But like I said, it's a small quibble. And since you only have 6 episodes, they may have just basically decided, like, well, if we're really going to play with this, we just need to jump right into it. And as the motivator for Fury to come back from SABER and start his part of the adventure, I guess that kind of works. But what did you think about that, of the kind of letting us know about this Skrull rebellion, I guess they first phrased it as?
First, I want to say hey to the chat with Silva, Surfer, Rich Room, Barbaro, the old gang being here in the chat. Love seeing you guys. Yes. Totally. Welcome to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. I said it was going to be different than the other ones, man. You know anybody that's talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, about this show? No, it was like instantaneous, man. I was thinking about that show more than Winter Soldier at all. Like, it was just like, man, like, shouldn't this be that Lost season 8 where they couldn't get any of the old cast, and they're like, well, sorry, sorry, Jackson and Kobe, we got you under contract. You're doing a fucking show. Like,
this is how we bring it back around, folks.
This is the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But this first scene, though. Okay, great. Okay, yes. That's also a thing. Like, how are people not, like, of all the asinine thumbnails that are out there for people covering this show, and it's most of them, okay, no one has used the Charlie background for their awful content to show, oh, look, they don't know what they're, like, even if it's negative, they didn't even do it. They're not even intelligent enough to do that. But we're bringing it up here, folks. We're bringing up It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The rest of them want to talk about AI-generated main titles and crap. Like, oh, look out, everybody. Skynet found it, Marvel. But this first scene.
Point 2, man. Come on.
But this first scene, right? Okay. First off, why? Okay. First, we have to acknowledge this is a big exposition dump for the people who, like, didn't watch Captain Marvel.
Right.
Okay. So it's just 2 characters catching everybody up. One of them is Watson from Sherlock. And you said Bilbo. I pulled a different one, all right?
No, I like the Watson.
Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman is a jack of all trades. But it didn't have any impact with me as far as tension goes, because that guy talking to him, I don't know him. This needed to be somebody I know. An information gatherer, another spy. This would have been, and that was again why after like 4 times watching this, I was like, what if it was freaking May? Like, just there, like, hey, I've been listening to all this stuff. Or even just like somebody that just makes more, that would be like a little more neurotic if it was like Fitz and Simmons. They're just both like spending a little too much time with like wiretaps and connecting a bunch of things, but they're both going a little kooky. I'm not saying that they should get killed. I'm just saying somebody we know, even if
somebody to connect us.
Just,
yeah.
anybody, any remnant left of whatever. I don't care. Roll anybody out that used to be. Like what's like Titus Welliver? Is he dead? Oh wait, yeah. Well, see, did those seasons count? I can't remember anymore. But yeah, just roll anybody. It could have been like, could have just been Hawkeye,
Hey,
right?
look, the computer guy who didn't want to launch the carriers in Winter Soldier. Nobody knows who he was, but we'd be like, oh, this was a guy connected into
Yeah,
Shield, you know. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
something to make me give a crap about this guy, because he's just there. His name is Prescott, and he's just like, he sounds crazy, and it's like, where was the intention of this scene to just put us in front of a guy that is going to make Martin Freeman's Ross character not be like, this guy's been here for too long. But no, I would rather see them faced with somebody like Jeremy Renner going like, he's like, I'm going off the grid, guys. I got a family, that kind of thing, and just have him we doing the whole who's a Skrull, who's not a Skrull kind of thing. Otherwise, yes, this was an effective scene as far as where it all ended up or where we needed to go, and getting up to like Kobe Smulders and which one is going to be the Skrull.
Sure.
I liked all that, but as far as the tension goes, like I said, I needed something to really make me care. I also feel like we're missing scenes. A lot of
Sure.
scenes in this show. Going off of this before we get into the next thing, like where the next thing is him coming down. We should be seeing a scene where he's getting the call. We should be seeing stuff in SABER. I know that they want to. They think that it's kind of like a big mystery, just like it's like very atmospheric and a
Sure.
cool looking shot of like the man, the myth, the legend coming out of the dark, like an alien on his own planet, right? And it looks really cool, but I feel like I needed more beats of like character, because if this is a big, mostly like Agents of Shield talking kind of show, a lot of diplomacy is getting used instead of shooting.
Right.
I want more of that to make it feel like, because one of the complaints we have when we reviewed Agents of Shield and other things is the plot just getting from A to B and not being very smart about it. Taking a lot, and it just feels like this show wouldn't have as many of those kind of feeling problems for me if they put little beats like that in, a little bit more things of like, shouldn't there have been a moment there where blah happened? And this is one of those scenes where I feel like after it, we're missing stuff, and it kind of goes on throughout the episode. I would like to see like a director's cut of all of these episodes once they're all done. I don't know if they ever do that or if they just put deleted scenes out, but otherwise, I did like this scene, and it's good to see Martin Freeman back again. And I also like the distinction that he makes of like, this is one of you guys, and it's like, no, it's one of them. Because when they say that, there's like a couple of different meanings to that that we'll get to later.
Yeah. Well, and they do open up the idea, and it's something that I'm sure that they will address. And this is also one thing that I'm kind of hesitant too much on some of judgments of saying whether or not they worked with me, but we got to see kind of how the whole series comes out to where they may be like, yeah, we want to reveal that information, but that's a later on thing, and so on. So I want to. I want to certainly give it a certain chance, because Marvel still has credit with me in that they're going to make something interesting that I'm going to enjoy. And honestly, I liked that kind of beam down scene from Fury, and that's kind of his introduction. You're right, like he's a stranger on his own planet, and they establish the and the knee there, and I can't really see, and it's it gives that great kind of like sci-fi intro, and then it's like, oh, broken human now coming out. So I mean, I'd like to see more with SABER, but again, time and budget. If they use that well, I'm going to be excited by it. And also, this kind of lets us know a few things. One, we've been in the impression there's a small number of Skrulls. This lets us know that, hey, yeah, but we don't know. Maybe there's a whole lot too, which kind of opens things up. It also starts to establish the question of why? What did happen with Carol Danvers and her search for the new Skrull homeworld and stuff? And that is something I'm hoping and expecting that we're going to get some answers to, because it mentions a few times of how people are upset and disappointed. And with Fury's return, we also start to get these ideas of abandonment, that he just left, that people felt that promises weren't being kept. So I'm hoping they dive into more of those little connections as well. But the one thing that points that they do, and again, this has to be important because they say it at least 3 times in this episode. Talos, Hill, and Sonya Fallsworth, is that Nick isn't the same guy that he should be, that the blip has changed him, and that he is now older, slower, and that he may not be with it. So obviously this is the beginning of his arc of the I'm a slightly over the hill spy to now I'm back, which I think we'll probably be getting to reasonably quickly as soon as we get the eye patch going, which again, I like that idea. I wish it wasn't hammered quite as hard and relentlessly through the episode of the blip changed you. You were never the same after the blip. First of all, you're saying the blip, and I hate that term.
Well, it's also okay. Here we go. 5 years is long enough to grieve in a fictional world, or have whatever. Okay, the blip crap needs to be over. If we haven't dealt with your trauma from the blip yet, it ain't getting covered. It should have been stopped. Okay, it's an interesting idea, but again, a little too late. Okay, like Black Widow, you done told the story too late. Because, again, if this had come out like around the same time as Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'd be fine with it.
Sure.
But it's just, the world we have all moved on from so much stuff, literally all of us. It's almost like we've gone through our own end game in some ways. In fact, yeah, we've dealt with our end game, and we're dealing with some other kind of blip stuff in our own real world.
Very true.
Nobody disappeared except for like the bees and the the water level, whatever. But I'm just saying, like,
just the climate.
I didn't need this story of just Nick Fury losing a step. All those years, 30 years or whatever it's been since they promised them these people plant, and I'm just thinking, man, like, did they think about this when they made Captain Marvel, that this was where they were going to head with it? Was that we were gonna be dealing with a storyline of like refugees from an alien world stuck here for 30 years, and during that whole time before he set up the Avengers and before he did all this, that, and the other, he's had these Skrull spies running around for him, and Fury's so good that he didn't like let anyone know on all this stuff level, and then all of a sudden now, he blipped out, and he's almost, we almost got our first mother effer in the MCU, and he comes back, and I get it, right? But again, it's Nick Fury, and 5 years is long enough. 5 years, and it's longer for them, right? Because in Endgame, it was 5 years, right? Between Infinity War and Endgame, it was 5 years, right?
Right.
Okay, and then from that 5 years, we've had how many other years? Like couple, 2 or 3?
He was out, so that 5 years didn't really count. So we're talking kind of post Endgame, and yeah, I think maybe we're 2 years past, maybe 3. I've kind of lost count because they, while WandaVision is immediately afterwards, Hawkeye is a year plus, and even Far From Home is basically a year after the blip because they came back and did the whole school year again, and this is then that was the end of the school year. So they've it's been hard to keep track of where these stories are in relation to post return. Um, so, but even if it's close, again, I don't mind the trauma. In fact, they play into it, and I think it may be an actual interesting thing of, what is it that Fallsworth says, is, you had a crisis of conscience that suddenly, no matter how hard you work, there's always going to be someone bigger, no matter what you do. And he does have that moment where he does have that flashback. You see that all the stuff that I do, and some alien that I don't even know about just snaps his fingers and half of us are all dead. I mean, I get that. I just don't think they needed to nail it on the head quite so hard. Again, let us follow that journey. Don't just tell us that's where we're going.
And well, they're telling us another thing already too about why'd you really go, and to me they're alluding to some sort of forbidden romance between Fury and Talos's wife.
They're very close. They are very close.
They're talking about stuff. The way that they're making it sound like he was just some kind of, could he have left for some kind of unrequited thing where he's like, I can't do it, man, no more. I got to get my ass up to SABER because I'm gonna end up I feel like there's more to it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it has something to do with that. And the only reason I say that is because a lot of this is very just following a kind of tropey, cliched formula, and I'm just throwing out tropey, cliched formulas out there that I could just see being there because the guy who our friendship meant too much and blah blah blah, that I had to leave the person I loved to save us all from, because if I would have gotten in the way, it would have caused a whole other war or some other bull crap. And I don't know. I do like I said, I love the idea of Fury being screwed up. I just would have liked a story about 3 years ago.
Sure. And and the thing is I honestly have a little bit of hope that we will go into some of that as we pursue this, because there's obviously, we're talking about this great connection between Fury and Talos, who's dealing with the loss of his wife and his daughter's runoff, where he gets disguised as now working with the enemy, and apparently the wife died by some action of Garrick or something like that, which we've got to kind of get into. So they are laying some interesting breadcrumbs that I'm hoping do get explored through this season as they go into everything else more, because we have definitely focused that this is kind of a Nick Fury story. This is Nick being pushed out of the world and now finding his way back because of this big planetary threat that only he can deal with. And I think by the end of the episode, they certainly give you a reason why he feels he's the only one who can deal with it after Maria gets killed. And we are going to just assume for the moment that that's Maria, as she didn't turn into a Skrull laying there as the camera went up, unless that happened immediately after the fade to black. And again, we'll get into these, but I think it can be a very interesting story between him, Ben Mendelsohn's Talos character, and what those relationships were changing and moving in the background of all of this. They've put some fun little Easter eggs and hints out there, so I'm hoping they do get to kind of explore that, because, man, I just love the back and forth between them. There is such a great connection. I mean, they're just in the hellos back and the loss of wife and the feeling of these things, to the kind of joking lines about, like, hey, man, I'm not even 40 in my years. I haven't done my midlife crisis shopping spree. What did you get? The Avengers.
I mean, can we just say this also right now, that basically so much of the dialogue in this it's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. banter that we've been missing so long. Because
That's
I'm
very
sorry,
true.
but almost every like you swap out any of these characters for our characters and do the same dialogue, and it's a Coulson May up scene. It's a it's a Fitz and Simmons scene. It's a May scene. It's a like you can just hear the words coming out of their mouths, and that banter that we just can't. That's one of the most fun things about these kind of shows, and at least the spy world that the MCU and Marvel has created. At least that's kind of stayed intact, even if it's not called the same thing anymore.
True.
It's a lot of fun. They're totally like. Again, I wish that we had more of this already under our
Yeah.
belts, because Ben Mendelsohn is so great as this character and great in general. And I just hope that I hope that this is wherever this goes afterwards, this isn't the end for either of them, because I would love to just watch them on another show, period.
Well, I did find it interesting that it's listed under Disney straight off as season 1, episode 1, and not just episode 1. Because I would think this would obviously be a small contained story, but maybe it is the beginning of something kind of larger happening. Maybe that's just a default and it's still intended to be one season. But I did find that interesting when I clicked on to watch it. I'm like, why does it say season 1? That's weird. Or is it? Um, so yeah, I agree with you. I do love the kind of back and forth there. I also wonder if perhaps Talos is older than he's trying to imply, because even in that fight scene, it's maybe he's also out of it like Fury is, but he was fighting a little bit more of like an over the hill guy versus a younger fighter, more than that he was just out of it. He was very insistent to Fury, no, I got this. In fact, even being mad when Fury shot him. I said no.
What I think, though, that was mostly him just trying to, like, this is like an honor thing, and
Okay.
and a more like, I'm gonna handle my people like the way that I like. I'm not afraid of this guy. He wasn't afraid of him. You know what I mean? Like, Talos did have confidence in that whole thing.
Yeah.
It was really, I think he might have even been kind of taking it a little easy on the guy, despite what it looked like size wise. Right?
Sure.
Is that I really do think he was diplomatically trying to keep it so that we don't kill this guy. We don't create another enemy, or we don't kill him and give them more reason to be mad.
Well, and they are
Because
his
that's,
people.
yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and they know he's working with them, and it just makes things worse. And Fury just show it, they, even though they sent for him, Fury just shoots. And again, would Fury have just shot this guy? Like, I'm making a lot of, like, I'm really looking closely at Fury during this episode, because one of the things I was concerned with was the whole, why is he like this, just, like blip wise and all that stuff. And they did explain that with those things, but there were just moments that just feel unfury like, despite the
Mm-hmm.
blip trauma. Certain things that I just feel like Fury, just no matter what, would do X, Y, or Z. And I just kind of feel like, I don't know, if the writers maybe need to look a little bit deeper into what Jackson has done. Because he's not the comic book version of this character is not really that present.
Mm-hmm.
He's mostly from the Ultimates universe, and he was around for a while, but Nick Fury's kind of been missing in action for the Marvel Comics universe for a while. But I just feel like this Fury is light Fury, despite on top of the already traumatized version of it.
Yeah.
I just feel like this interpretation, this writer, is just not giving me full Fury. He should still be full Fury underneath all of that trauma, because you see him kind of wanting to come out. I don't know.
Well,
I
that's what
think
I'm
maybe
hoping.
I'm looking a little too hard, but
That's to me, that's just where they're putting his arc. Is he is a step off. He is a little slower. He hasn't been in the game for a little bit, so he's not as warmed up. And I think we will see him very shortly returning more to his old form as he gets kind of back into his groove. And I think I'm not saying that's the best way to form an arc. I just think that
no,
that's what
I
they're
just at
using.
this point I hope he's a Skrull.
Oh,
I hope that. Well, it doesn't mean that he's dead. I just mean like because because it's just like shooting that guy felt like what a character would do to shut up a guy from talking about you. Like if this guy stays alive, he knows what's what. He could blow the whistle on me. It felt like one of those kills. And again, because we've watched a lot of stuff, we've seen this plot go down this way. In fact, on shows in fact, I know it's happened on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where someone was killed right before they could talk. Probably on more than one occasion. So I just was like, would Fury really do that? Even being off a step, would he really just be like, pow, pow? I don't know.
He had to keep his word. He told the guy he only gets one, and he got two, and that he was most likely going to
He
shoot
got
him.
two, all right, two in the chest.
He did let him know. Yeah, he did let him know. So he's maintaining his honesty. He needs that.
I got to read the comments here. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I actually get Rob needs a refill. Yes, I do, but it's only lemonade, guys. Nothing too risque.
So let's well, actually, I do want to touch on one little thing. And this is just kind of a general question, and it may lead into what's actual Maria, because I think there's reason to suspect Maria as well, considering that Ross was a Skrull. And we're hoping that she's not actually dead because, man, hi, Colby Smulders. Bye, Colby Smulders. But I did have one interesting thought is, why did she follow Gaia? Now, we know it's Gaia, but I'm assuming since the last time we saw her, she had a Skrull face, not her human face. She passed in the background. Now, she did have a red backpack, and that's always telltale that there's something wrong and you need to follow. But it was a bare glance for her to get up and follow her down, and that's what instigated the connection between Talos finding Gaia, which was a very cute, very, very sweet scene about the loss of the mother and connection and all of those things. I thought that was beautifully done. And ultimately, Gaia kind of comes to their side, but does she? Because the backpacks ended up being fainted. Don't even know if Gaia knows that. Maybe she was sent on this mission because Fury was there, and that would force so that there would be some kind of maybe it's a loyalty test.
I think
This is the fun stuff about spy things. It's like, why did Maria Hill follow her? And was Gaia sent intending to run into her dad and or Fury, and thus maybe turn and thus be the bait? Because that's what the guy said when she comes back with the backpack. Why would we postpone this? You already brought the bait. Maybe she's the bait and not the backpacks, and she doesn't know. And I love these discussions with spy thrillers because you don't know who belongs to who or who is loyal to which side. So yeah, I just threw out 5 different strings. I want you to follow them all in order. Let's talk the Maria.
Well, I mean, well, Amelia Clark being on this show as Gaia was of all the things that happened on this show. not being Abigail Brand, which everybody was like trying was. I probably said it myself. Um, I think I did say that she was rumored to be playing Abigail Brand, like
Hmm.
co-head of Saber and all that. A mutant character. Um, to find out that she's playing Gaia was very interesting, and it definitely changed my idea of what the story was going to be. Because Abigail Brand's a bigger than life character, it'd be an introduction thing, and in this way, like Amelia Clark doesn't have to be in a million different movies because that would be a I like that you've got somebody who played one of the most popular characters in the world for a long time, despite the final season, whatever. And she's taking roles like this, where you go for the mother of dragons to just somebody Skrull daughter. You know what I mean? Like that's
Hmm.
almost like uh, on a TV show. She'd be like just the guest star for like a couple of episodes, and then poof, her arc is done, and la la la, they move on with their lives. So I like that. I think that these kind of roles suit her better than big, huge movie roles.
Sure.
I think she works best in an ensemble and not just as some big star. I'm not saying that she can't do that, but I think that she's better at things like this, working as a team. Uh, and I'd really, yeah, I mean, there's so many things we need to get into, but I don't know how to. I don't want to just start skipping ahead again. But I do like the whole dynamic that they have between him, her, and Mendelssohn's character. But I do think that there's a scene between her and him that I just was like, get the hell out of here. Just get out of here. We can get to that. Well,
Um,
we are at it. We are at it.
yeah,
We were
I was
okay.
going to
So we
say,
were
no,
talking about
let's go ahead and
we're
get
there.
to it.
We're there.
Yeah,
Nobody lets. No, sorry, I don't care if it's your daughter. You don't let her leave with what you know, what you think are bombs. No, sorry. She
he
just,
kind of gave
oh,
up a little easily on
bye.
that. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
he just says bye, and then she goes and has a good cry. She's not that far away. You still could have caught her, and she's crying, so she's probably put the bags down. Just take them. Like what? No, nobody. No, that's a stupid way to end that scene. She just goes away with the bombs because I'm working a long game plan with her. No, that is bad. That again, how to get to? We have to have those bags at the thing. No, then find a better way. She turns into somebody big and just punches the hell out of her dad and walks away. There, fine. Not just walk away. No, I'm sorry. It's unacceptable. That is bad writing.
She broke his heart.
I
That's
don't
what
care.
happened.
How many hearts do they have? He's probably got like six.
um, yeah. I mean, admittedly, I as much as I love that scene, I did think that Talos gave it up kind of a little bit with that little push
I
away,
mean,
and
can
then
you
just like,
imagine the scene? Like,
oh,
hey man, did you get the bags? No. What do you mean you didn't get no fucking bag? You do know that she's got the bomb in those bags, don't you? What's in your wallet? It's not bombs.
yeah, the scene works obviously better knowing that she comes back and does some reconnect with him. But yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a giveaway. Um, I do think, man, she's killing it in this. You're right. She's so good in this role. It was just a fucking pleasant to see her. Sorry, for all my cursing, folks. We're already demonetized, you know.
I'm sorry too. I apologize. I'm a little rambunctious.
Oh no, quite all right. But I did want to just touch briefly on the new Skrullos, where the Skrulls are making their homeworld, and the kind of this is safe, we're protecting you, but also, and there are the warriors. If you're loyal, you will be rewarded. Uh, I kind of like all that. Let's just know there's like 500 there, at least in that little group. Kind of a hint of the size of them. Um, and yeah, we do get kind of our is this the framework where they're holding their minds kind of scene. But I gotta say, there was one little bit that I loved about that. The AAR, the Americans Against Russia, that was brought up in a previous scene. Like, we think that these are one of the Skrull groups that are using to kind of negotiate this. But of course, it doesn't have to be all Skrulls. You want some regular humans there with a history. And the fact that they are using these humans, suckering them in, and then replacing them. Because what the guys say, Americans Against Russia, this would be your dream. We're going against Russia. You're just going to be a little a template that we're going to follow. Which perfect, because this guy gets the blame, and he's got a whole history to follow back. But of course, he's suckered in and being used. And, I don't know why I kind of like that.
Oh yeah,
You think you're going to be the
careful what you wish for.
Pray, yeah.
It's basically the just kind of desserts for somebody like that. The way and it's in shows and movies like this that we actually get to see the comeuppance for people that behave like that. It's the only time you ever really see it, so it's nice to be able to get it when we can.
Yeah.
But I really did like that setup. It made me feel. It felt very X-Files.
Oh yeah, very much so. No, they work their tone, I think, really well and through this, and they keep it kind of disturbing and off and so on, which I really enjoy.
And also the setting, being Russia. Like I was thinking about where they show all the kids playing, and it's all just wet, and dirty, and muddy, and they're all in these like abandoned nuclear places, and Russia being also like a big topic lately, for a while, let's call it. But it's like it'd be on the nose if it wasn't a true thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like the whole thing with the like they are immune to radioactivity. So where would you hide? I mean, they worked that in great. It's just coincidental. It's a wild coincidence though, that like with everything that's going on in our world, the setting takes place there right now. Like I thought that was really cool, and it makes sense for hiding a bunch of people. And not just in the place, but like Russia's a big place. You want to like hide in the middle of nowhere.
No, it is nice that you can, in a way, you're able to use current real world events that actually reflectively work the Cold War tone.
Yeah.
The rest of the show sort of builds up because it's like, well, we're kind of back into a Cold War almost. Not exactly.
And it works for them plot wise because some of the things that I'm complaining about can be excused because it's like, well, they're in Russia. They can't just advertise that they're there. And it's like, yeah, fair enough.
Sure. But you're right. Kind of like they snuck the radiation bit in. They do drop fun little bits of information rather easily in here, which I think will end up being useful. One, the number of size, but the interesting idea that the warriors are the ones that can leave, but they maintain their human look because the longer they maintain it, the easier it is to fool both humans and Skrulls. Which lets us know that this is a definite offshoot and not necessarily the main line of Skrulls, and that we already know that Talos is a Skrull that is kind of apt counter to them, who they would want to bring. But it also lets us know is that there's any character could potentially be a human or a Skrull, and we shouldn't know, and neither should any of the characters in there.
Yeah, and also it's an interesting recruitment tool for these people.
No, yeah.
Because I mean, sure, yeah, you can come and go as you please, but you have to look like this. You can't, and I'm sure that there'd probably be like pretty strict things that happen if you get caught, if you were to be caught. And so, and just the idea of just having to be somebody you're not would be a bit of but like, the flip side is, yeah, you wouldn't be stuck in this shithole like you wouldn't, but you'd also, but you'd also probably be thinking you're more free, but literally that one guy's just like, you come here, come now, like go on mission, and it's just like, oh. But
Oh
I'm
yeah,
also kind of thinking more along the lines of how us humans would react, and honestly, I can't speak to what a fictional alien race would act like because I'm pretty much anthropomorphizing them to us, like how
sure.
selfish or how we would see things, and maybe they're not as selfish as we are. So I should probably, but again,
Well, no, but they also deal interesting with the psychology of it. Because we
yeah,
get the idea that obviously the Skrulls have been stuck on Earth and they don't like it. They haven't found a home world. We can see how that's frustrating. But even in that second scene, the first time where we see Fury and Talos back together, they're talking about the plant that Soren planted. It has now adapted as they were expecting to. And then we get to New Skrullos, and now we have Skrull fruit that is now growing. It has adapted to Earth, which is a great kind of connection of why the Skrulls may be like, well, we've now adapted to Earth, so we're just going to take it, and this will be our new home. That adapting into new circumstances. I kind of like, again, I like that foreplay. It sets them up that they're not having to, they don't have to do the Man of Steel. We're going to, remake the Earth. We're not going to drop the Genesis project and reform the planet into one like ours. We're adapting to your planet. We're just going to take it over.
you just talking about all this, man, started to send me down a bad rabbit hole. I'm like writing notes down on the side about, man, you're really starting to make me feel like I had to like do some like real quick mental gymnastics to make me still not go Fury's a Skrull, but I don't think
Sure.
it is.
Well, but again, to me, this kind of makes it, this is my only kind of, don't worry about Maria, because that was a Skrull who got
Well, I was
killed.
like, if it would have to mean, my idea would have to mean that Ben Mendelsohn faked his wife's death, and that Fury actually died, and she took the place of Fury, but it doesn't work. It
Yeah.
just doesn't work.
No,
It
no,
just
no, no.
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So.
No, and
But again,
I like their
but that's where we're
relationship.
going. Like we're, we're like we're the paranoia is starting to like be real. Not really, but it's a perfect. I mean, this is a perfect. In some ways, this is the perfect time for this show because paranoia has never been higher in this country as it is.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, otherwise, I don't think it would be like fooling me this much or getting me this intrigued. Because I mean, this isn't the thing. Okay, this is, and a lot of things have been telegraphed, and a lot of things, certain things have been spoiled. Thankfully, I haven't really heard anything other than a couple of things about this show. But like, it is great that like one episode in, and we're already starting to draw our own little freaking strings everywhere, checking and double checking our little theories already, and because now it's basically like anytime this show, every episode of this show is basically going to be like the wild theory hour of like whenever we talk about like something crazy on the Mandalorian, we're like, we'd all have three theories that are way better than anything that they ever come up with.
Yeah, never
But
listen to our
except for
theories,
this
folks.
show, I think it should be encouraged because then it just like really gets the whole pot stirring of like, wait, we can turn the whole audience into like, just spinning their heads.
Well, again, but I think that is especially for a spy drama like this, and one where you're not supposed to know who anybody is and everybody should be suspect. I think this is the medium where you play all of this.
Yeah.
Who are the people who we think they are, even if they revealed to be the people we think they are they still really those people, or are they somewhere else? And again, Gaia here, I think, kind of is a perfect thing. Is we know her as Talos's daughter, so we've got to think the best of her. But then she's working for the enemy, and she gets their bomb, but then she seems to turn back, and then the hint that they give them that, oh, follow the marked backpacks, ends up being the bait that comes out and not any of the actual bombs, Does she know any of this, or is she being used? To me, is all the fun point. Again, it's like the Maria question. Well, she was working with Skrull Ross. Maybe she's a Skrull, and she's maintained it long enough so you can't be detected. But then when she's shot, she just dies like a regular person. But did she die? Did we fade back? Honestly, the loss of Maria gives us our stakes. We always talk about we need stakes. People need to be able to die. That's what Maria dying does. And it motivates Fury to get back on his game and to push, which is why, I think next week, the beginning is like, here's the eye patch. We're going to reshave the head. We're going to make sure we're going to get the long coat back and everything. To show us that our guy is back. Again, it's kind of a bummer for Colby Smulders to come back and just die in the first episode of the show, which is why, again, I'm holding out the hope that maybe she spotted Gaia because she's also a Skrull, and that's how she was able,
I'm of two minds on this.
Sure.
Okay, so the first one is that, and again, comic guy here will tell you that Maria Hill has pretty much been missing in action in the comics for a while. And if she's in a book right now, I'm not reading it. And I read a lot of books. And she's had her great moments as a character. I've been a Maria Hill fan for a really long time because I like the second in command isn't, it's kind of a, like, I guess the first one I would think of, like, as far as like popular or big second in commands would be Riker on Next Generation.
Sure.
Right. But he's like, you look at him next to Picard, and you go, like, Riker's all right. You know what I mean? But he's not as, they're completely different people. Right. And that's good. But like, I've always saw Fury and Hill as almost like she's the perfect protege. She was just as hard, if not harder, than him, to the point where she was kind of an unpopular character because, well, she was tough. People didn't want her to be, whatever.
Scares a lot of people.
But they've never really, what have they really done with this character? It's cool when she shows up because it's Colby Smulders and she's great as his character, and she's occasionally, popped up right when we needed her to. And to say the thing or whatever, that's pretty cool. But she's never really had an arc.
True.
And again, one of the biggest like things that had potential would have been for her to be on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to begin with. She should have been the director.
Right.
Throughout all these things, even if after the fall or whatever, there was a lot of whatever happened. So it makes sense on that level that she's been around a long time and she dies to do what you say, which is the motivation. That's, I think, a pretty reasonable way to look at it.
Sure.
Right?
And it opens the door for a new second in command, Phil Coulson, to pop up. So, Yeah.
Nice. Now here's the real story. Nick Fury would have never fucking left hers laying there, ever. Again, another character beat that is completely wrong. 100% wrong. When Fury was nearly assassinated in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
They moved heaven and freaking earth to save his life, to the point that they faked his death to save it. And if you're telling me, and she was a big part of that, and you're telling me because some bombs went off in Russia and she takes a bullet to the guts, that he's just going to go, Talos is going to grab him and go, we got to go, Fury. We got to go. Nuh-uh. He'd be like, You better grab, take your strong ass Skrull body and use it to pick her up because we're taking her to the ship. I need an extract right now. I'm Fury. We're going to SABER right freaking now. He would never have left her laying there. I do not care. This is again another thing. Well, I'm like, fine, it's part of the plot, and we're just gonna have to accept it. But in order to accept it, that means that like Tyrion Lannister himself, he just got screwed by the writers and became suddenly a character that he's not. Maria Hill would not be laying there. It's done for dramatic effect and to give a character motivation that would already have motivation and could still pick her ass up and go, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've seen Reservoir Dogs a million times. A shot to the gut doesn't just... By movie rules and other things, it's just like certain bullets just kill a character and other bullets don't. And it's just...
Well, it's funny you brought up the Winter Soldier bit because I also thought I was like, man, Nick Fury got like blown through the back through a rifle that went through walls. And he went through this whole long list of like cracked sternum, collapsed lung, perforated liver, XYZ. And they were able to save him. And that she just like, oh, one shot, dies. I was like, man, that's kind of sucks.
It's bullcrap. If they were going to kill her, they should have given her a real hero moment. Because what they're trying to do is, she saw Fury shoot her, and that's the powerful thing. And then she sees him, and she dies. No. We're not living in the real. These shows and movies don't take place in our world. You can stop it. Okay? If both are, I don't like having to just accept. And I've been like this on certain Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos before too, folks. So this is not a new angle. But like when things...
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, it's just when the logic thing just alarm won't go off. I have no way of stopping it, okay?
It reminds me a lot of Last Action Hero. Which was not a hit at all when it came out, mostly because people didn't really get its riff on action films. Yes. But it does the exact same thing. He's out here and he gets shot and he's like, oh, I'm going down. And then they get him back into the cinema world. And he's like, oh, this is barely a flesh wound. He's going to be just fine, because that's how it is. You get blown away with multiple bullets and you're like, oh, no, just going to grunt it off and I'll be all right. Whereas, real world is more the take one shot and you're down type kind of thing. So,
and I don't want my attitude about this to reflect like Kobe Smolder's acting or not, whatever, or any of that stuff either. Because it's like, they're doing what the script says, man. If it says, hey, guess what, Kobe, you can kiss that occasional MCU paycheck goodbye. Fine, actors find other work, whatever. But it's just after this amount of time, and not just that, but again, making sure the characters stay true to themselves. This is a big, I don't like that. Big problem with that.
Yeah, it's the final episode of How I Met Your Mortuary.
Yep. I didn't bring over no blue French horn, lady. I just brought a bullet.
Well, now that's why I wanted to say off the top, I'm like, whatever I say in this, I want you all to know I love this episode. I love the show. I'm very excited about where he's going.
We didn't even talk about Olivia Colman yet.
Well, let's talk about Olivia Colman before we go, because we're well past the hour mark. We've hit most of the big things. But yeah, Olivia Colman as Sonia Falsworth, like I said, the Moscow Section Chief for MI6. I'm guessing that's who this is, or that's her position. Skrull or non-Skrull?
Oh, she's a Skrull.
Totally, yeah. Again, someone else telling Fury, we don't want you here, which is my one suspect of Hill trying to get rid of Fury. You're no good here, you should go. Olivia Colman's, you're no good here, you should go. Um, they're just trying to shuffle Nick Fury back off to Saber. But yeah, what do you think of Olivia Colman's bit? I loved her. I thought that she was great. I
Yeah,
love that whole
it's
kind of old spy back and forth.
God, like when it, sometimes you get an Academy Award winner in a scene or whatever, and it's just nothing. You know what I mean? It's like, yep, that's just it's whatever. But then certain people, and especially people that like aren't that don't look like big stars, that don't carry that aura of like, I feel like I could see Olivia Colman at the gas station. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or whatever, getting groceries. She's just hello. Um, but when she's in a movie, it's suddenly like, oh shit, this is actually somebody's actually trying. I don't mean that people aren't trying. It's just that
No,
their acting just goes like the whole scene becomes like way better, just way, way, way better. And
she
even
knows
when she
what
was a
story she's
hologram,
telling. Yeah,
even when she's in a hologram, she's like the best actor. Like her and Mendelsohn are just like it's fantastic. It's a great choice for this character. I'm sorry we didn't talk about her earlier this late in the game, but there's plenty of episodes to talk about her. But
yeah.
I wanted to bring that up before we left.
No, I just love the fact that they do the introduction with him with a hood, like, well, there was a large black man in Moscow, so it's either going to be Nick Fury or this old singer. Oh, I just wanted a good rendition of
Yeah,
the song. Never mind. It's
yeah, yeah. It's no, she's very, and that's why she's a Skrull because she's
yeah,
just too. That and somebody's got to be the Queen Skrull.
sure. Well, and again, it's the fun little intro, like, okay, everybody knows the Skrulls are rebelling. Nobody's doing anything, but everybody knows about it.
Right?
And that's the world we
And
go in.
again,
That's like, man,
why are we calling the Avengers in?
give us a little journey. Um, so I mean, again, that was my only downside, but of course, I loved him just fucking around and putting the little bug there on the owl
Oh
eye,
yeah,
which was
yeah.
just awesome. If you think about it, give your brother a call.
And when he does all this stuff, I mean, you knew he was going for a walk for a reason. You knew he got taken on his own. You
Mm-hmm.
knew that he was like so. All these moments, I just you see the old theory there. You know what I mean? Like he's able to do it again, one episode at a time. These shows usually start strong. See how it goes. I do have faith. We always say we don't want anybody to think that we don't like it. You know what I mean? Because I think that there is a balance that we strike here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when they make mistakes, it's like that's when it gets a little more. But I do think that ultimately this is going to be a good. This is going to end
Oh
well.
yeah.
I just think that it's not what people expected, not what we wanted as usual, like as far as the description of this show, but like we were never going to get Secret Invasion the way that, and I think we've talked about this topic a bunch too. So we just, if the product that they're making in the end still is still fine despite your disappointments, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and yeah, we only, like I said, we complain because we care, but not
Yeah.
like
And what the MCU has always done very well is take the bare bones essence of a story and mash in a couple of other things to sort of create something new that has a similar feel. And while Secret Invasion dealt with a lot of Skrulls replacing world, Earth's heroes, no, we're not going to have that. We're not going to have all of these. I mean, we've seen Rhodey already, but we're not going to have a whole bunch of other like superhero cameos, most likely, because then you don't have to deal with the idea of how are the Skrulls replicating their powers. If you just have them replace people of importance, then it just focuses that mystery spy story element, and they don't have to worry about any superfluous explanations about anything else. Um,
that.
so I don't think we need to worry about how many heroes are going to show up. Um, I am hoping that they make it kind of a little bit bigger than just some terrorists doing some things.
Yeah, because then we get too close to the Winter Soldier, Falcon, and the Winter Soldier thing, and I don't think we need that
Yeah,
again.
and Olivia Colman does say when that little spied on Vision is that, how much, the Skrulls are replacing people. They're a big threat around. Again, I don't know how much you know about that. And was that just to get these guys over there so they could follow Gaia and be suckered in? Does she know she's being spied on? Again, you can always ask these questions. A well done show allows those questions to be asked. But it definitely implied the idea that the Skrulls are infiltrating positions of power, um, which I think is going to be a real interesting thing to further explore here. All right. So, any other final thoughts, theories, or inputs before we close up for the evening?
No, just that it's good to be back doing this. Good to be back talking about something. I mean, yeah, this is the last thing that I was looking forward to. I still haven't seen Guardians 3.
They neither.
Uh,
Yeah.
I superhero fatigue is real. Um, well, but when your brand is directionless, my opinion, and all the other things going on, it's been easy to just find new things to do in life. But I still maintained that this was like going to be the thing that I really, God, I really hope it can deliver something, because like this is for me kind of like a last hurrah a little bit. Like I really don't have anything on the horizon that I'm looking forward to as far as like MCU or Star Wars stuff that's not like things that we don't already know are coming.
Sure.
So for me, it's kind of like a
No, I'm
saying
kind of
goodbye.
I'm kind of fun with the one-offs. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I do want to see what Loki season 2 is going to be, and that's the only other
Yeah,
MCU show that we're going to
yeah,
get
I
this
should.
year.
Yeah, I should
So
qualify that. That's another one I'm looking forward to.
yeah,
I
so I mean,
forgot.
if you're just going to have two, I'm excited about these two. You can wait on your echoes, and next year will be Daredevil's year, and I'm excited about that as well. But no, if we're just going to do these things, I'm kind of excited about that. Um, I got to say, I am excited about Ahsoka just because of the potentials to go with, and I love Sabine Wren. She's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. So I'm really excited about how that's going to turn out. But no, this was the show that I have been looking forward to for the past 6 months or more, waiting for this to come. So I'm really excited for where this is going to sort of play itself out. Um, and I can't wait to really see Fury dig it in on this. I want them to make an interesting story. And I'm hoping anything that felt rushed in this episode was just so they could lay the groundwork and get into the bigger story that they want to tell.
Yeah,
Um,
because I know a
so
lot of the big YouTubers have already seen the second episode, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go after that. And I'm
yeah,
excited to see what our the third person joining us next week will have to say.
yeah, that's right, folks. Don Willie will be
Ah,
back here on the screen joining us. Really excited to hear Don's take on all of
oh
this.
yeah, we're gonna have to. I'm gonna be a little more selective with my words next week, so I can give Don plenty of time to, because I'm gonna be ready to sit back and be like, all right, go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you got so much big back and forth between Rob and I, is we wanted to get all the big stuff out so we can let Don come in and really express how he's feeling stuff, and we could just kind of play all the catch up things. Um,
It's Hydra.
so yeah, exactly. So yeah, very excited about that. Very excited about Don coming up. And want to thank everybody. We had a lot of people joining us in the chat. We had Devra, Silver Surfer, Barbaro, the Rich Room jumping back in. Always good to see Rich. Really nice little chats, nice little back and forth. Always appreciate you guys showing up live. And thank you everyone who's joining us in the archives. We will be here 6 o'clock Thursday night, 6 o'clock Pacific Thursday night for the next 6 weeks, tackling into the show. Really excited about what's going to be going on with that. And we hope that you can join us. Rob,
Yeah.
any final things about what you're doing or where people can find you?
As soon as I'm off this, man, I'm watching Critical Role. All right,
Nice.
I'm just crawling back into my hole for another week. Then I'll pop back up onto your show. And
Perfect.
for right now, that's fine. If you can catch me on Twitch, if you can catch me on Twitch, it's Smirking Rob Plays, all one word. That's where I can occasionally be found. Occasionally, yeah, it's like it's pop in and out. You never know.
Excellent. Excellent. You got to do it as it does. All right, folks. Thanks so much. We will catch you all next week. Have a good one. And bye bye. Now I got to hit all the sequence of buttons to end this.